Good morning all of you. This is 12th class biology, lecture 5 of chapter 7. And the topics to be discussed today are factors affecting Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, in which we have already done 3 factors affecting in previous lecture, and today we will discuss about the recombination and natural selection. Then next topic is a brief account of evolution, and after that evolution in plants. So let's start with the factors affecting Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, and that is recombination. So due to recombinations, recombination occur during the meiosis division, okay, where the exchange of genetic material takes place. Okay, so due to recombination, only reshuffling of already existing characters takes place, right? Because of the exchange of genetic material, there will be reshuffling of the characters. Now different combinations bring diversity in genotype and phenotype of different organisms. Due to reshuffling, there will be diversity in the genotype and the phenotype characters of the organism, phenotypic characters of the organism. So we can say the recombination is an agent of evolution and it will disturb the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So it is a factor affecting Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. After that, next factor is natural selection, and here we will study that how this natural selection affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and helps in the evolution. Okay, so there are 3 types of natural selection which help in evolution. First is stabilizing type of natural selection, second is directional selection, and third is disruptive selection. So let's start with the stabilizing natural selection. Here, more individuals acquire mean character value and variation is reduced. Like you can take an example of height here. Height in plants, we can take an example. Like some plants are dwarf, some are tall. So these two characters are called extreme characters, okay, or peripheral characters. And the third type of height is, third type of plants are of medium height. So we will say that medium height plants are showing the mean character value. Okay, so medium height is mean character and the other two, tall and dwarf, are extremes. So what happens in stabilizing type of natural selection? Here the individuals acquire mean character value. Okay, so here nature selects the organisms having the mean character value, means the medium height plants are selected by the nature and both the extremes are eliminated by the nature. You can understand it with the help of this graph. Here this peak is showing, this is showing organisms having medium height, okay, the plants having medium height if we taking that example. Okay, so this is mean character and these two are extremes. You can take tall and dwarf for example. Okay, so these two are extremes and this is mean character. So what happened in this type of natural selection? This peak will get higher. Okay, as you can see here, this peak is getting higher. Okay, so in stabilizing type of natural selection, peak gets higher because here the individuals having the mean character value are favored by the nature, are selected by the nature, and both the extreme characters are eliminated. So these individuals having the extreme characters will be eliminated. That's why this portion has become narrower. As you can see, in comparison of it, this portion has become narrower, which was representing the extreme character, which was representing the individuals having extreme character, like tall and dwarf. Next is directional selection, and here individuals of one extreme are more favored. Like we are taking example of height, so here also we will take that example only. Okay, so here what happened in directional type of selection? One extreme is favored. Okay, so either the tall plants or the dwarf plants will be favored here. Okay, and the mean character value, means the individuals having the mean character value will be eliminated, will not be favored by the nature. So you can see here one of the extreme value is favored here. So this peak will get shift like this. Okay, you can see this tilted structure here. So here one extreme value is favored. So that's why this is called directional selection, means in one direction selection occurs. Next type of natural selection is disruptive type of selection, and here individuals of both extremes are more favored. So here individuals of both extreme, means both the tall and the dwarf plants, will be favored over the medium height plants. Okay, so here only the mean character is not favored. The individuals having the mean character will get eliminated, and both the extremes are favored. So that what will happen here, you can see this this was representing the individuals having mean character value, and that's why this graph is like this. Okay, means the number of these individuals is decreasing. Okay, and both these extreme values, the peak is going higher for these. Okay, so both these are extreme characters. Okay, these are representing individuals having extreme characters, so these are favored by the nature. So this is called disruptive type of selection. After that, next topic is a brief account of evolution. Means how all the life forms that you see today have been evolved, how the different classes and different phylum about which you study today have been evolved. Okay, so this is a brief account for that. So first of all, there is Proterozoic era. There are 4 main eras in which evolution occurred. Okay, from the beginning of life up to the recent time. Okay, so there are 4 main eras, and the oldest one is Proterozoic era. So this is oldest one era, Proterozoic era, when the life originate. So this era was present 2000 million years ago, right? 2000 million years ago, first cellular form of life arose. Now I hope you remember the things, that how the first cellular life form arose, because the most acceptable theory for the origin of life is O'Brien-Haldane theory, according to which atoms combine to form the inorganic molecules, then inorganic molecules to form the organic molecules, and then the protocells were formed, right, and finally a cell like structure originated. So the first cellular form of life arose 2000 million years ago in Proterozoic era. Now some of the cells had the ability to release oxygen. Out of these cells, some of the cells had the ability to do the photosynthesis like reaction, because as you know, in the light reaction of the photosynthesis, oxygen is released by the plants. Okay, so some of these cells had the ability to release the oxygen by showing a reaction like the light reaction of the photosynthesis. After that, some of the single-celled organisms formed multicellular organisms. So multicellular organisms appeared in Proterozoic era. After that, next era is Paleozoic era. Okay, this is second era, that is Paleozoic era. And in this era, about 500 million years ago, invertebrates appear. Okay, so these all are changes which occurred in the Paleozoic era, but before doing these changes, you just recall the sequence of the phylums of Animalia kingdom in your mind. Okay, there are sponges, coelentrates, all these are present. Okay, all these invertebrates are present in the starting, and after that vertebrates are present. And in vertebrates also, what is the sequence of the classes? There is Pisces, then Pisces evolved to form the amphibians, then amphibians evolved to form the reptiles, and then reptiles form the aves, and then mammals. Okay, so this evolution occurred in the same sequence. Okay, so you just recall that sequence first and then do this. Okay, So first of all, there will be invertebrates, because means with the time invertebrates evolved to form the vertebrates, right? So first the invertebrate came. So first of all, in Paleozoic era, about 500 million years ago, invertebrates appeared, and then between 400 to 600 million years ago, first land organisms, and first land organisms were plants. Okay, so plants as the first land organisms appeared 400 to 600 million years ago. Then many invertebrates appeared 500 million years ago, and then 400 million years ago, in invertebrates, arthropods invaded the land, right? Then about 350 million years ago, jawless fish, that was fish with snout. Okay, now you can see here the vertebrate appearance has been started. Okay, and in the vertebrates, you know, first class is Pisces. So in Pisces, jawless fish appeared first, that is about 350 million years ago. This jawless fish was fish with snout, okay, means strong backbone and the strong fins, and it was able to move on land and go back to the water. Okay, as you know, nowadays fish live only in water. The fishes are aquatic, but this jawfish had the ability to move on the land and to go back to the water. Then about 320 million years ago, seaweeds and few plants appeared. Then in the same era, means in Paleozoic era, amphibians appeared. Okay, and these amphibians evolved from the lobe fins. Okay, the lobe fins evolved to form the amphibians, and then amphibians evolved to form the reptiles. So reptiles also appeared in the Paleozoic era. Now what was the benefit of the reptiles over the amphibians, or you can say advantage with the reptiles? What was the advantage? They lay thick shelled eggs which do not dry up in sun, unlike those of amphibians. So a reptile's eggs were having thick shell. Okay, their eggs were covered with a thick shell, and this thick shell do not dry up in sun, unlike those of amphibians. So this was an advantage with the reptiles, and that's why these reptiles got evolved from the amphibians. After that, in the next 200 million years, reptiles dominated on Earth. Okay, now don't get confused, this is not 200 million years ago, this is in next 200 million years. Okay, after the origin of reptiles, in the next 200 million years, reptiles dominated on Earth. So it was the dominant species on the Earth. The species of the reptiles were dominant on the Earth. Giant fawns, which are called pteridophytes, okay, big sized fawns were present on the same time when the reptiles were dominating the Earth. On the same time, in the plants, if we see, then pteridophytes were present, okay, as the giant fawns. But they all fell to form the coal deposits slowly. With time, these pteridophytes fell down, okay, these plants fell down and buried under the earth, okay, and you can say form the layers of the rock and form the coal slowly. Okay, you know, coala is formed due to deposition of the different plants, okay, plants and animals. So here these pteridophytes fell down to form the coala. And in 1938, a coelacanth fish was caught in South Africa. This coelacanth is a type of lobe fin, okay, lobe fin, which is considered as the ancestor of the amphibian, you can say, from which the amphibians evolved. Okay, so this coelacanth fish is a type of lobe fin, and it was caught in 1938 in South Africa. But it was thought to be extinct. It was thought that the lobe fins have been extinct from the earth. and the dolphins have got evolved to form the amphibians. But in 1938, it was surprisingly caught from South Africa. These animals called dolphins evolved into the first amphibian. Okay, so we can say these were ancestors of the amphibians. After that, next is Mesozoic era. This is third era, Mesozoic era, and in this era, around 200 million years ago, some of the land reptiles went back into the water to evolve into fish-like reptiles. Okay, so what happened here? Again, some reptiles went back to the water. In starting, what happened? You can say vertebrates were present in the water. Okay, like fish-like organisms were present. Like you can say dolphins were present. Then those got evolved to form the amphibians, and then the completely land animals, means the reptiles. But now in this era, reptiles again went to the water and evolve into a fish-like reptile, and these fish-like reptiles are called ichthyosaurs. These are called ichthyosaurs. The land reptiles were dinosaurs. So you can say land reptiles were called dinosaurs, and water reptiles were called ichthyosaurs. So dinosaurs and ichthyosaurs, land reptiles and aquatic reptiles. Now these dinosaurs include Tyrannosaurus rex, and this Tyrannosaurus rex was the largest dinosaur, and the height of the Tyrannosaurus rex was 20 feet, and this dinosaur had huge fearsome dagger-like teeth. Now these are names of some other dinosaurs present in the Mesozoic era, and these are Triceratops, then Pteranodon, then Stegosaurus and Brachiosaurus. Okay, these are some other dinosaurs present which were present in the Mesozoic era. This is a picture of Tyrannosaurus rex, which was the largest dinosaur of the height 20 feet, and you can see these dagger-like teeth of this dinosaur. After that, in Cenozoic era, this is the recent era, Cenozoic era. In Cenozoic era, what happened? 65 million years ago, dinosaurs suddenly disappeared. Okay, up to that time dinosaurs were dominating the earth, but then suddenly these dinosaurs got disappear. Nobody knows the reason behind it. There are different theories that how the dinosaurs, such a dominating species got extinct from the earth. Okay, how they got disappeared from the earth. So there are different theories. In mostly theories, natural calamities are considered as the reason of the disappearance of dinosaurs. So after that, what happened? First mammals, means after the disappearance of these dinosaurs, first mammal appeared, and the first mammal was a shrew-like organism. A very small mammal was present. Their fossils are small size, so these were shrew-like organisms, very small sized organisms, and their fossils are of very small size. In South America, there were mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. So these mammals were present in the South America at that time. Okay, the fossils of these organisms have been found from the South America. So due to continental drift, what happened? South America joined the North America. Okay, at that time what happened? Continental drift occurred, and due to that continental drift, South America joined the North America. Now what happened due to this joining? The fauna of the North America, means the animals which were present in North America, dominated over the animals which were present in the South America. And what happened? These animals were overridden by the North American fauna. right? So North American animals dominated over the South American animals, and those got disappeared with time. And how this happened? Due to continental drift. One more thing about the continental drift. Due to continental drift, Australian marsupials survived. Okay, because due to continental drift, Australia gets separated from all other countries. Okay, and due to which what happened? This Australian marsupials, means the marsupials which were present in the Australia, survived because of the lack of competition from any other mammals, because there were any other mammals were not present there. So these Australian marsupials survived due to continental drift, and this is the reason that kangaroo are present only in Australia now. Now this is a evolutionary chart given in your NCERT book, and here you need to learn this chart. Okay, so let's start from here. First of all, these three era are given here. Okay, you know there are 4 era, but the Proterozoic era is not given here. It is starting from the Paleozoic era in your NCERT book, so you need to learn it from here. So here these 3 era are given. First is Paleozoic, then Mesozoic, and then recent one is Cenozoic, right? After that, these are periods. Okay, these are called time periods. So first it is starting with the Silurian, Devonian, then Carboniferous, and then Permian. These 4 time periods are under the Paleozoic era, right? And you need to learn all these in sequence, like Silurian, after that Devonian, after that Carboniferous, and after that Permian. Then Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. These 3 periods are in Mesozoic era. After that Tertiary and Quaternary. These periods are in Cenozoic era. Okay, and according to these periods and era, these are different plants which have been evolved. So evolution of these plants has been given here, right? So there is a short trick to learn the sequence of these periods. Okay, so see that, remember the periods. So you can learn the sequence of these periods by learning this simple sentence. Like you are asking one of your friend, so dear, can we party together and watch Jurassic in cinema tonight? Okay, this is a sentence. So here from S you can say Silurian. Okay, S is for Silurian, then D is for Devonian, and C here is for the Carboniferous, then P is for Permian, T for Triassic, and then this J for Jurassic. Okay, and then C for Cretaceous, T for Tertiary, and this question mark is for the Quaternary. Okay, so with the help of this sentence you can learn the sequence of these time periods, right? After that there are other things which you need to learn in this evolutionary chart, and these are, let's start from the here. These are chlorophyte ancestors. Okay, these are chlorophyte ancestors, you can say oldest ancestors of the plant. After that these plants got evolved to form the tracheophyte ancestors, and these tracheophyte ancestors then evolved to form the rhina type plants, then xylophyton. So this is the sequence of the evolution of these plants. One question can come from here, that tell the name of the oldest ancestors of the plant. So this is chlorophyte. Okay, then one more thing, that these bryophytes have been evolved from the chlorophyte ancestors. Okay, so bryophytes have been evolved from the chlorophyte ancestors. And in which period these are evolving, in which period they got evolved? So you can see from here these are starting. So in Carboniferous period bryophytes got evolved from the chlorophyte ancestors, right? So you need to learn the things like this, okay? You just derive the things from this evolutionary chart and then learn. Then many other things that you can derive from this chart here, like first of all, from these ancestors, means chlorophyte ancestors, then tracheophyte, then rhina type plants, then xylophyton, these got evolved to form the progymnosperms. So these are progymnosperms, okay, and then these progymnosperms made the seed ferns. So progymnosperms came into existence in Devonian period. Okay, so one more thing that you can derive from here, that progymnosperms got evolved, came into existence into Devonian period. After that, seed ferns were formed. Okay, and here after the formation of seed ferns, these angiosperms were formed. Okay, angiosperms, you know, these are flowering plants. Okay, and in angiosperms there are two classes, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. So one more question can be asked here, that which type of plants came first, dicots or monocots? So you can tell easily from here that dicots came first, okay, and after that monocots came. Okay, so in which period dicots came? You can see here in Cretaceous period, right? So dicots came in Cretaceous period. Then another thing that you can derive from here is in Jurassic period. You know, Jurassic period is the period when the dinosaurs were dominating the earth. Okay, you might have seen the movie Jurassic Park. So that was about the dinosaurs, right? Because the dinosaurs were present at that time, and at that time period, which plants were present? So these four types of plants were present predominantly at that time. Okay, these are herbaceous lycopods, ferns, these ferns, then conifers and cycads. So these four types of plants were predominating on the earth at the Jurassic period of time. So you will have to derive the things like this from this evolutionary. Now your homework for today is, first you need to learn the evolutionary chart of plant evolution. Then these are some questions. First question is, what is natural selection? Second is, what is founder's effect? And third is, what is bottleneck effect? After that, let's discuss the homework solution of previous lecture. And first question that I gave in homework is, tell the basic postulates of the Darwin's theory, and these are the basic postulates. First is enormous power of fertility, that every living organism has the power to reproduce rapidly. Okay, every living organism can reproduce at a high rate and can increase its generation, right? But food and space is limited. Okay, so second thing, that is Darwinian of the postulate of the Darwinian theory of evolution is that, and it applies on all the organisms. Okay, it applies on all the populations including human beings. So here second thing is limited food and space. The available resources are less, and that has resulted in competition, right? If the population is increasing and the food and space is limited, then what will happen? There will be competition among the organisms, where every individual try to be better than other. Okay, in competition, every organism will try to prove itself better than other organism. Now, what will happen? The struggle for the existence. So in the competition, every organism will try to get for its existence. So there will be struggle for existence. Overpopulation resulted in struggle, which Darwin called the struggle for existence. Now what happened? Variations appear. Okay, so appearance of variation is the fourth postulate. During the competition, every individual try to become better and shows variation, right? Now what happened? The useful variations are inherited in the progeny of those organisms in which they arose, and therefore the progeny have the better chances of survival. So what happened now? The variations will appear in the organisms, but the organisms which will have the useful variations will win. Okay, you can say during the competitions, the organisms having the useful variations will win. Okay, only those organisms will reproduce and will inherit those variations to their progeny. So we can say the progeny of those organisms will have better chances of survival, right? So there is survival of the fittest. Next postulate is survival of the fittest or natural selection. So what has happened now? During the struggle for existence, only those individuals which are better adapted, okay, due to some variation, which are better adapted to the environment and shows the favorable variations are selected by the nature, and the unfit individuals are rejected by the nature, right? So this is called survival of the fittest or the natural selection. So this is the natural selection of Darwin, according to Darwin. Now what will happen due to this, that fittest organisms have been selected by nature? What will happen now? Origin of a species. Okay, so according to Darwin, new variations appear in every generation and get inherited to the new generation. Okay, so these favorable generations will get accumulate generation to generation. Okay, because these will get inherited generation to generation, and these small variations will get accumulated. Now this results in the formation of a new species, or you can say speciation. Okay, so these are the postulates of Darwin's theory, right? Now limitation of Darwin's theory. So what is the limitation? I have already told you that Darwin's theory said that variations appear in the organisms, due to which those organisms proved better than other organisms. But how these variations arose, okay, from where these variations came? So it could not explain how variation arise, and this was the limitation of Darwin's theory. Now one more question that I gave is difference between Darwin's and mutational theory, and these are the differences. The Darwin's theory of evolution is based on natural selection, while Hugo de Vries' theory is based on mutations, right? First difference. Then second, in Darwin's theory he proposed that minor variations cause evolution, which are small and directional, right? While Hugo de Vries proposed that mutation cause evolution, which are random and directionless, right? This is second difference. Then third is, according to Darwin, evolution is a gradual process, while according to Hugo de Vries, evolution is caused by sudden mutation.